Meeting to order, and want to say we're glad to have everybody with us tonight, and welcome to the Franklin Board of Aldermen meeting. The first thing on the agenda is the adoption of tonight's agenda. See if there are any additions or changes, anything from the board. Anybody want to shuffle anything around on the agenda?
I'd like to add one thing to the agenda, make a motion that we add to it that the board decides to pledge allegiance to the flag at the beginning of every meeting.
Would you put that in the form of a motion?
A second.
All in favor? And shall we start tonight?
Fine with me.
Earl, that's just hold on you.
Let's all stand and remove that. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Earl. Okay. So I guess there was a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. How about the approval of the February the 3rd?
And somebody actually.
We haven't done it yet.
Oh, do we not?
I'll make that motion.
Oh, okay. Barbara? Your motion is to adopt the agenda as presented. Okay. Second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, that passes unanimously. Now, approval of the February the 3rd board minutes. Well, I'll entertain a motion that we adopt them, approve them.
No objections, I make a motion they be approved.
Second?
Any changes? Yes.
I think it said that Kay Coryell was the co-chairman of the Greenway. She's really the co-chairman of the Frost.
We make that change?
Co-chair of the Frog.
Yes.
Okay.
Friends of the Greenway. Any further changes, additions? All in favor? Okay, that passes. All right, the first thing we have on the agenda tonight is a public hearing for the Program for Progress annexation petition. Is there anyone here to speak to that issue? Counselor, I have no. Oh, Chuck, you're going to speak. I'm sorry.
Just a brief thought on behalf of Making Progress. We would respectfully request that you annex these two parcels of property. There's no motive except for consistency within our campus of properties there on Orchard View Drive. And, we appreciate the consideration of the gift.
John, do I close this if there's no?
Mr. Mayor, I think you have closed the first public hearing. The second one was scheduled for 7:10, and I'd be loath to just dispense with it altogether. I can't imagine anybody's going to speak on it, but
I have nobody signed up to any of the three.
okay, I think we could probably dispense with it.
Okay. And the second one is for the Macon Program for Progress for an additional annexation of a parcel. Any comment, discussion? Anybody want to speak for or against? You think I can slide ahead to 7:10?
If anybody else comes in, we'll see if they're here for that.
That'll be fine. All right, and the third that we have is the application to amend the text only, a unified development ordinance to include additional permitted uses in commercial C2 and commercial special use C2 SU zones. And I have no one signed up to speak to or against this. I did, yeah. Yeah. Does anybody wants to speak for or against it? Billy? Anybody on board got any questions? All right, I will just declare them closed, John, and then we'll vote on them at the time on the agenda. Pardon? Yeah. All right, and on the public session, I have Mr. Dewey Elliott signed up to speak. Come right ahead, sir. We've got a lecture just waiting for you.
Yes, sir. I'm here on behalf of our church, Emmanuel Baptist Church, down on the end of Lake Emery Road. And our water bill been running $46, around mid-40s, mid-50s. And then we got one for $1,008. And we didn't know we had any water problem. Since then, we found that the old plumbing valve had corroded or whatever and was leaking it back into the old well. So we fixed that, and we've got another bill for $323, which is a total of $1,232. We've set up payments, pay $100 a month, but I just wanted to come to the board and ask if there's any lenience or anything else could do to help us on that.
Okay, Mr. Elliott, that is on the agenda, item J. Do we want to handle that now, or do we want to wait till item J?
It's at the pleasure of the board, but I mean, we are going to address it.
Yeah, it will be addressed. Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Angela Moore.
Good evening. Last month I came to you, and one of the things that I had brought up for the board was the hope that even if the board could not have any type of town hall meetings, that we as citizens could organize meetings that you would be invited to, attendees for. And I'm very excited to say that there was interest from the community, and with the hot topic of the gazebo last month, that is what we've chosen to be the topic of our first community meeting. While obviously any decisions about the gazebo will be made in this room by each of you, it is difficult to have a group discussion and dialogue during a board meeting. In the spirit of this, several of us have come together with the League of Women Voters and Venture Local to create an open meeting for the sharing of ideas concerning the downtown gazebo. A meeting that I hope will be the first in a series of meetings to discuss, educate, and collaborate on any number of issues relevant to the town of Franklin. Our hope is to create an environment where stakeholders, including businesses, local groups, individuals, and officials, can come together for open discussion and sharing of ideas. For this particular meeting, we hope to have any businesses that may be submitting designs to the town, Main Street members and other organizations that are involved in using the space on a regular basis, businesses that may be affected by construction, or really any individuals that are interested in the project. And of course, we would like to see each and every one of you there. We'll be coming together to meet on Monday, March 31st from 6 to 8 p.m. in Tartan Hall. I thank you for your time and your consideration, and I really look forward to the possibility of working with each one of you and having the opportunity to discuss this issue at the end of this month, but hopefully to discuss several issues with all of you in the future. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions?
Any questions?
Was that the March the 31st?
Yes, March 31st. It's the Monday before the April board meeting.
And
6 to 8 p.m. at Tartan Hall. And we hope to give some time to anyone who would like to speak, particularly people that we're trying to reach out to the community and get anyone involved who is interested. So, and like I said, I really hope to see each of you there, as well as people from the Main Street program here at the town. I know that they are major stakeholders in this project. So, I've been working with a few other people, as like I said, as well as the League of Women Voters and Venture Local, and we're hoping that we can reach out to businesses that may be involved in construction or may be affected by construction. So, yeah, we're excited. I hope you guys are too.
thank you, Angela.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
just to remind the board, nobody has said, and it would not be correct to say the board can't have any other meetings. if a majority of this board is going to attend that meeting, which is perfectly legal and fine, it would be best practice to announce that as a called meeting of the board, just in case. Because if a majority of this board shows up to deliberate, and even if you're just going to hear presentations and not even interact, it's going to be a meeting. So that would be my recommendation.
How would I go about that? Just ask if there's anybody interested in attending, and see if, show of hands, and see if we've got a majority.
I think the manager or Summer could find out how many of you
Okay.
are interested in going. If it appears to be a majority, it's safest to go ahead and announce it as a meeting.
And we only have to do that, what, 48 hours before the, okay. So if y'all would just let Warren know if you're going to attend, that way we can stay abreast of it. Mr. Brown, Ben Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I came for you in January to kind of explain what we're doing with the opt-in effort, and so I thought now that we're finishing up round 2 of our workshops in the region, I think I just come and give you kind of a heads up on a couple things that we think is important, and especially as a citizen of Macon County, that I wanted to make sure that I gave y'all a little advance information that we may have as the things that are beginning to occur to us as we do the research. First of all, I was very excited that Macon County had the biggest turnout of any of our community workshops. It may have had a little to do with Stacy Governor breaking everybody to death for about a month at a time. But I think it was one of those cold nights, 20 degrees, snowy. There was also a rival event downtown with the Outdoor 76 guys who were having a beer night, and I'm proud to say that we still drew over 60 people to the Tartan Hall for that meeting. So there's a lot. Y'all have a lot to be proud of, the way that this community has reacted to our effort. Now, just a couple things that are beginning to occur, just to give you a heads up, and we'll be back reporting in a much more formal way to you. But 2 things, one of which you may have already heard about, and that is the impact of tourism on the region as reported by Dr. Steve Morris out of Western Carolina University. There's a big tourism conference scheduled at Western on April 11th, and I hope that some of y'all can attend that. It's an all-day conference talking about the impact of tourism on the entire Western, that's the Advantage West counties in Western North Carolina. And all of our research indicates that we have really underestimated and underappreciated the impact of tourism in the region, and that we should all be investigating ways we can best leverage that. Macon County, of course, is uniquely situated in the middle of these 7 counties. It's a gateway from the south into all of these federal lands, and increasingly importantly, a gateway also to engagement and tourism visits to the tribe. And now that the tribe is situating a casino to our west in Cherokee County, it puts us kind of in the middle of that as well. And so we want to make sure that we take advantage of every opportunity we possibly could. I wasn't sure that the chief was going to be here tonight, but one of the things I wanted to mention is that our research really demonstrates that of all the counties and of all of the institutions, organizations that we've interviewed, the tribe has stood out as a resource for not only the obvious kinds of cultural heritage, the power they have in terms of the economic power of the casino, but also they have developed a really strong executive growth capacity, attracting professionals at mid-career and also young people back to the boundary. As you know, that's one of the most difficult things that we've had in our region, is getting our young people to come back and work with us, and the tribe is setting an incredible example for the ability to do that. And it's clear to us that this need to leverage the tourism in our entire 7-county region, especially in Macon County, and an association with the tribe is really going to be important going down going forward. There's just no doubt that there's no better partner than someone who is not going to be exporting any jobs to China anytime soon. I think that as the tribe begins to expand its interest in the region, Macon County and Franklin should be stepping forward and saying we're interested in being a partner going forward for all of the kinds of things that y'all have been talking about in terms of downtown redevelopment, the completion of the Greenway, the ultimate decision about what's happening with the mound. But all these things are going to be crucial, symbolic and realistic, practical examples of the kinds of partnerships that this town and the county can make going forward. Is a real opportunity. I think this is more clear to us in this process than the kind of opportunity that's before these counties. And Macon County and Franklin are uniquely situated to maximize that opportunity. So thanks again. We'll be back to you to report as we finish up some of these sorts of things. We're going to wrap up the opt-in process at the end of May. By that time, there'll be a regional vision will be presented to everyone. Of course, everything, any kind of acting on that vision will be the responsibility of the boards in the county, at the county and town levels. Any questions of anything that we're working on so far?
Questions for the board?
Thank you.
Ben, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good to have you with us.
Thank you.
Okay. Under new business, first off, did anybody come in late that might have wanted to speak to the public hearings that we had? Okay, good. All right, the first item is the board action on the Macon Program for Progress annexation petition parcel. Can we take all three at one time, or do they have to be individual, John?
The two, there's
The
two
two?
parcels,
Okay.
and it's at the pleasure of the board, but you could really consider them both at the same time.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to that effect. We approve the annexation petition.
So moved.
Now, I'm sorry, let me clarify. Are you asking for a motion to approve the annexation and adopt both of these ordinances? Because before each of you, there are draft ordinances that you're going to have to adopt as part of that, and that's the formal step to annex.
So the motion stands? All in favor? Okay, that passes. And then the next item is the board action on application to amend text only of Unified Development Ordinance to include additional permitted uses in commercial C2 and commercial special use C2 SU zones. Do I have a motion to that effect?
Don't we need to hear from Justin or somebody about why we're doing this?
I'd be happy to give you a quick rundown and answer any questions you may have about it, at the risk of slowing this pace down, which I would hate to do. If you recall, at your last meeting, actually no, it would have been your January meeting, we talked about how the zoning structure that the town has in the UDO is a sort of a stepwise intensity of uses kind of an ordinance, where at the lowest rung you've got R1, and that's all R1 is going to be is residential, and we want 1 or 2 family homes, and that's it. And then you take another step up, it gets a little more intense in terms of density or the type of use that it is. We're all the way at the top, you've got industrial. And so if you want to go live in an industrial zone, all of those uses are going to be permitted in industrial. You can go live there if you want to, but you can't locate an industrial use down at the bottom of the ladder in R1. Our ordinance does a good job of separating those out, but it's not clear enough in terms of the residential uses as they go up. And those also should become more intensive and more dense and compact as you go up. Because again, down in R1, we want single family homes, maybe 2 family dwellings, and not a whole lot else. I think that it basically was an oversight that things like multifamily dwellings, apartment buildings, there was a proposal to add as a by right use into, and this is all in front of you in your packet, to add as a by right use into C2 commercial residences and multifamily dwellings with fewer than 10 apartments. So that's going to become a by right use in C2 or higher. We wouldn't have to come before you for anything. And that will go on up the chain. Apartments more than 10 units and plain residential developments would be permissible in C2 SU. This is like the one that's out at Westgate. would become an explicit by right use in C2SU, so it's going to come, those are going to come before you for a special use permit process, and the same thing in C3 SU. The planning board additionally recommended that you add to C1 SU, which is basically just Main Street here, apartment buildings and multifamily dwellings, but only as a special use. So, you know, when it's a special use, you get to really consider, is that a good fit for our Main Street? And with these larger developments, are they a good fit for our commercial zones that they can locate into? Overall, I think the effect of this would be encourage more development along the lines of what they're doing at that Westgate development. And I think it would make it a little easier to do that, and not necessarily that one's sort of a niche market, but I think a more expansive, we're going to develop more, encourage more development along those lines. And maybe for everybody of any kind of income bracket. So that's overall, I think it's a really good, it's going to be a good and useful thing to change, and I recommend you adopt the ordinance as presented.
Okay, good.
I make a motion that we approve the amendment to the UDO.
Okay, all in favor? All right, is there any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Okay, we have the honor of having the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians Principal Chief here tonight, Chief Michelle Hicks. Chief, welcome.
Good evening. Mayor Scott, thank you for allowing me the opportunity. Warren, I appreciate all your answering my phone calls and directing me, and it's good to see each one of you here this evening. I have a simple request. Of course, I approached the county commissioners a few months back, and one of the things that I want to do, if in regards to my steps of addressing this issue were out of line, I apologize for that. But I did come to the commissioners, and we had a very good conversation related to the Nikwasi Mound. Obviously, Eastern Band feel for many reasons that the mound should be back in the name of the Eastern Band. And again, my request is very simple. Now, I understand that's not such a simple task as it relates to the history of the mound and the responsibility of the town, and so I completely understand that. However, I just feel that as time goes by, one of the things that's important to us as a tribe is to make sure that we are at least part of the process of protecting these lands, these areas that are so rich in, from a spiritual perspective, from a cultural perspective, and of course, I just feel the true responsibility as a tribal leader, and as requested by many of our tribal members, to do our best to do the right thing. And I know it's a big request. We've had a number of conversations. We've had some really good partnerships with the Little Tennessee folks. Obviously, you guys are aware of Cowee, and I think that again, as we look forward, one of the things that I think is important is to make sure that we continue to have good partnerships on these various projects, and to make sure that obviously we're doing things for the right reasons. We're all aware of the maintenance issue a couple years ago, and obviously that has gone by the wayside. It was not something that obviously set a good track record. However, it's not necessarily the point of why I'm here tonight. I just feel in my heart that, again, that we have a responsibility as a tribe to make this request. And so, again, it's very simple. I'm not sure in regards to Mayor Scott what the point of order is on such a request. If I need to present a resolution maybe at a future meeting, or create some some additional discussions through one of your committees, or direct conversation, I'm willing to do any of the above to push this issue along.
I think
Thank you for your time.
We can work together however we work it out, what's most convenient for you also. get together. John, you have anything that you might suggest? The board? The board have any suggestions?
I have a suggestion. I'd like to see our town manager work with Chief Hicks on this issue and come to some resolution and bring it back to the board.
I do understand that, again, there are some philosophical ties with a number of family members and you know, the community as a whole, you know, to the mound. And, you know, I respect that. And, but on the reverse side, we have those same ties. And so I'm hoping that at some point, you know, worst case scenario, that at least we could create some type of long-term a fund, if you will, to make sure that the mound is protected, not only from a maintenance perspective, but also just the area around is protected. Again, I just feel very strongly, you know, that it would be the right thing to do. We're willing, from the tribal perspective, you know, to step up and do whatever financially that we need to do long term to make this happen.
Mr. Mayor, I'll be happy to work with the manager and Chief Hicks any way I can. I would tell you that this would be an opportune time to consider getting that property under, regardless of who's going to own it long term, getting it under a conservation easement. I don't believe that's ever been done and probably should be, so that that will lock in and keep the use as it is for, you know, indefinitely.
Chief Hicks is...
Mayor, is it in order for, I got a couple of tribal members that just want to say just a brief piece, if you will. Is that allowable?
Sure, I'd love to have it.
Okay.
Some of my old friends.
Absolutely. And I know these guys will speak from their heart, so thank you.
I tried to tell him elders first, but he made me go up. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mayor, my name is Matthew Tunai. I'm a member of the EBCI, and I live in the Painttown community there in Cherokee. And the topic of Niquosi is, I feel to be very, you know, I don't want to say controversial, but, you know, for the lack of a better term, we'll go ahead and use that word for the time being. The spiritual ties that the Chief was talking about, you know, it resides in all of us. As an indigenous person coming straight from this land here, we had that responsibility of stewardship. We still do. You know, although the majority of our lands were taken through land lotteries and things like that through the 1800s and on back, we still had that responsibility of stewardship. And now, in present day, the stewardship has fallen onto you folks, where, you know, we as Cherokee should still have that responsibility as well. And it's something that both of us need to work, you know, to work together on, because now we're all in the same boat. And to me, as long as that mound is still there, that historical sense will still be there for this town, but also for future Cherokee to come. And it just has the same importance as the Gadua Mound that we have. Cowie, I believe it still is. You know, it might come a time where we have sort of gotten away from all that due to things happening in our past and everything else. But, you know, for as long as we're alive and we are aware of who we are, where we come from, it's up to us to make sure that these landmarks still are visible. Because unfortunately, some of the mounds have already been decimated. And take, for instance, over there at Western Carolina, in Cullowhee. That used to be a Cherokee town, but now the mound is gone and the Killian building is sitting right on top of that, and we don't have no landmarker there. And that's one thing that we shouldn't allow to happen to this mound here, because there's not many mounds that have significance to Cherokee. And also for this town, that's also a historical marker for you guys as well. You know, being natives to this town. You know, that, like I said, you're still in the same boat with us as the stewards of this land. It's all stewardship. We had it first, and then it became neighbors, you know. And we've had skirmishes in the past and everything, but you know, to me it's sort of childish now to sort of go back and forth over a piece of land. Although I do agree that it should fall under Cherokee hands, of course, that's just me. But you know, what's going to keep it from that mound from being bulldozed in the future, when the future generations take over your spots? Are we still going to be having this debate whether that mound needs to come to us or stay here in your folks' hands? You know, it's something that it shouldn't have to be, because you know, it's fighting the uphill battle is real tiring sometimes, and we need to stop that. You know, as everybody, it don't matter if it is over a mound or anything else. You know, we gotta live off this land. We gotta be stewards to it. So we need to. And I'll stop my rambling now. You know, but thank you for allowing me to come up here and speak.
Thank you, Matt. We're glad to have you. Chief, you got somebody else?
Tom, do you want to say a couple words, please?
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor Scott and Town Board. My name is Tom Bell. I'm with the Cherokee Language Program at Western Carolina University. I'm not for sure I can add much to what Chief Hicks and Mr. Tunight said, but I do want to thank you all for the consideration that you are for the consideration that you have at this particular point on this particular issue. I know that for many generations now there have been judicial and jurisdictional issues at stake that were long set a long time that were established a long time ago when we adjudicate things that happen between tribal entities now and state ones, but and especially in these counties, these issues though over these particular sites, these places are more than just historical sites. And I want to address that for just a second for your consideration. These sites are more than just a historical site. They are more than just an archaeological site. They mean to Native peoples and to Cherokees in particular, these sites still have an intrinsic spiritual and cultural value. I just want y'all to know that. It's more than just something that we can pass down that says that we were here. In our cosmology, these places still exist as ongoing, vibrant, and dominant places, even though there's no ceremonies going on there or anything like that. We still consider these places as being very, very sacred. The issue that I'm trying to address here, and not having much success at, is that I would want you all, and I would pray that you would understand how important these places are, not only to us now, And certainly, not only how important they once were, Bartram came through here. It's been designated, I mean, it's been noted and documented by them. It was on the way to what the British Empire once thought was the capital of the Cherokee Nation at Cowee. These places were mentioned in the Court of St. James as early as the 1700s and before. These have great significance to us all. We as Native peoples have, as I said, an inherent and an intrinsic connection with these places that really it would take volumes of materials to try and express what that is. But the importance of these places can't be denied. And to work with you all at this particular time then overcomes those past jurisdictional issues, those things that have factionalized people. And we now go into the 21st century, or we're headed into the 21st century, where all of these things that were once a certain kind of way in Citizen, they don't necessarily have to always be that way. And we as communities of Western North Carolina, we as citizens of this part of the state can work together to change the way in which these things are looked at. And a really good step is to recognize not only the historical and the archaeological importance of these places, but also to recognize who they actually do represent. And a good way to do that is to enter into a partnership, however that you decide to do that. In working a partnership with the Eastern Band, whether it is for them to take stewardship of this place, I don't think would be a bad step anyway. That's just my own, I just wanted to kind of toss that in as my own personal opinion. But just the act of us being here and being able to dialogue about it and being able to deliberate on this issue means that it is of great importance, not just economically, not just historically, but to all of us in a cultural sense, to those citizens of Macon County, to those who have a history here that goes back 200 years, 300 years. It's just as important to all of us. It's just understanding what is right, as Chief Hicks said, what is right, and what is the best thing to do here. So, in closing, I mean, as I close out here, I would just pray that you understand how important it is to the members of the Eastern Band, to the members not only of the Eastern Band, but when you talk about the Eastern Band, you also have an intrinsic, an inherent connection to a band of Cherokees in Oklahoma and the Cherokee Nation there. We are of 3 tribes, and we all came from here. We all came from here. It would certainly show the good faith of the people of Macon County in understanding this a little bit more than what has been done. What has been done, we cannot change. That's a matter of history, that's a matter of, and in most cases it's a matter of law. But we can do something about the future. So I would suggest that we as a people, as Chief Hicks has said, that we can work together on this and come up with the best way, where, as Matthew Tuna said, in generations to come, not only for those who are coming in the Eastern Band, but for those who are coming, the future citizens of Macon County, of Western North Carolina, and even of this country as a whole, can have something where they know that where it's not just a historical merit, and it is going to represent all of our histories, but we are the intrinsic and the inheritors of those places. And for it to be full and complete, it would be of great significance and of great importance for us to take care of these places. So that's what I would like to ask of you all to consider and to deliberate on. The days of usurping property, the days of changing hands in ways that were a little bit more, less than legal, those days are long gone now. and it's time to work our way into getting these things right and stuff like that. So thank you very much for your time, and I would ask that you consider that. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Tom, Matt, thank you. I'll close here. Thanks for your time this evening. I really appreciate the opportunity to come over here. I think that there's a lot of other partnership opportunities that this town and Cherokee can collaborate on. But again, one of the things I do want to say that before I close is I want to thank every one of you for your public service. I know we don't always get thank yous. It's hard sitting in these positions. I mean, you guys, from the smallest issue to the biggest issue, they're not easy. And I know you can lose sleep over it, you can stress over it, but at the end of the day, we all know that our hearts will tell us what the right thing to do. And simply, we just need to pray about it. And that's what I asked you guys to do tonight. Just pray about your decision. I would like to ask, as I begin discussion with Warren, is it reasonable to say that if we could also create some type of reasonable buffer around the mound in our discussions, as the board here, is that reasonable to ask for at this time? And if so, then we'll start this conversation with Warren as soon as possible. And again, I thank you for your time.
Chief, I'm not going to let you get out of here too
Okay. Yes, sir.
We have a historian on our board that has written a book about the McCloskey Mound.
Oh, wow.
And she has a copy she wants to present to you personally. Chief, I'm going to call a brief recess so y'all can get back across the mountain.
Thank you very much.
And I just want you to know, we really enjoyed having you here tonight.
You guys are always welcome to Cherokee. We appreciate it.
Likewise.
God
here.
bless.
So let's take a 5-minute recess and we'll get back to work. Okay. Folks in the I'll bring everybody back to order. All right. At the request of town manager, I'm going to move up the water bill discrepancy with the Emmanuel Church so that those folks can get on the road also. Is Ms. Daniels still? Oh, yeah.
Bob, you want me to, I don't know, if he wants to speak again, that's perfectly okay, but I can kind of give you
Sure.
He's exactly correct on the synopsis. The water bill normally ran $40 to $50 a month, somewhere in that neighborhood. And then in January jumped up to $1,008, which is a significant increase. And he's exactly on the February bill, which jumped to $323. It was an internal problem. Basically, to give you the background on the story, that Carolyn noticed she could tell through the billing system when there is a leak, so she obviously recognized there was some stuff going on, and the water got cut off. But apparently, we had tried to make some contact to some different numbers that we had on the account and didn't make contact with anybody. And then in the process, and gentlemen, correct me if I get anything wrong anywhere in this process, somewhere along the way, somebody else realized at the church that the water was off, trying to figure out what the problem was. Water got cut back on, so then you have a little more leakage in there somewhere until somebody realized that the water is actually leaking into the well or wherever it's going to. So that's basically the discrepancy in the bill is the change in the bill. Usually we have a few remedies that we can do to offset that, usually on the sewer side, because our sewer billing is based on our water billing. So therefore, if you can prove to us that you have a leak, in this case, which we knew there was a leak, we can offset the sewer bill and get it back to the normal range, because obviously that water didn't go into the sewer. So we have some means to do that. However, in this case, they're on septic system. They're not actually connected to the city sewer system, so we don't have that remedy to work with. Honestly, gentlemen, I sympathize with you. I've talked to Benny and I've talked to Karen and some more of those folks there, and I really do. I feel bad. I mean, I really do. But I basically told them I was out of options. We offered a payment plan so that they could work with us and make some monthly payments and try and get worked out. But I was basically out of options on what I was allowed to do as far as anything we could do.
So what action do we need to take, Mr. Mayor?
That's certainly up to you, Mr. Mayor. And again, with all due respect to these gentlemen, I would urge the board to use caution in setting a precedent. If you do waive something, obviously that's certainly your right to do that. But I urge you to do that with caution if you do, because of the precedent, and we just don't have any other means at this point.
So what's the pleasure of the board?
You know, we've been told before that if you do it for one, we're gonna have to do it for everybody. But at the same time, I sympathize, you know. With my water bill, I'd be gone. But, I don't know. What's everybody feel?
There's each month, there's a number of different, where there's been water and stuff that's been used, excess water due to leaks that's in there. And we've gone as far as we can by offsetting the sewer charge on that. But if we do this for them, then we've got to go back and do that for everybody for the last years and years.
So I guess unless there's a motion to waive it, it'll just die and we will not be waiving the fee. Is that correct, John?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I think if nobody makes any kind of motion on it, that it'll be where, it'll stand where it is.
And the town manager is working with them on a payment plan where they don't have to put out all that money at once.
Right, and I understand that still doesn't make this any easier to digest. That dollar amount is still there no matter what with congregation that has to pay that bill, and I understand that. I really, truly I do. But I promise you all that we'll work with them on that plan. If that's our only option, we're certainly not going to come out and cut off the water tomorrow. We will make sure that you have water, and we'll work with it the best way we can if that's the only option that we have.
Gentlemen?
We understand, we appreciate it. We understand that part too. If you do it for us, you have to do it for somebody else. But we told the folks at church that we'd come and ask, and we did. And we appreciate your time.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
If you don't ask, you don't find out.
That's right.
And thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, we have next on the agenda a real quick update from the North Carolina Rural Water Association. Mr. Wilson.
Mayor Scott, Council, it's a pleasure to be here with you all this evening. Whether you all know it or not, you all have been a member of North Carolina Rural Water Association for probably greater than 3 decades. So we have a long history with you all, regardless if you know me or not. So this evening, though, I wanted to come up. First, I want to thank you for your public service. I know you've heard that from several other ones this evening, but you know, it never ceases to amaze me what local government boards and councils hear in the course of one meeting. Everything from ownership of a historic mound to offsetting a water bill to zoning and you name it, and you guys deal with it. So thank you for what you do for your community every day. You know, I usually start out a little bit different, and I talk about just the value of water. And not in dollars and cents, but the value of water to your community. Stop and think. What is the first thing you do every morning? Now, I will say Facebook blew this one. Okay? But what's the second thing you do every single day? You get up. Usually you don't even barely cut the light on before you either use a faucet or a toilet or something that uses water. And it seems so simple. You take it for granted. Even sitting on a board, even when we work for the water utilities, we take it for granted. We turn it on and it comes out. If you don't think that we take it for granted and the value of it, what's the first thing we tell someone when they go out of the country? Don't drink the water, right? Where have you been in the United States that you've ever thought one time about taking a shower at a hotel? About making a baby's formula with the water that comes out of the faucet? About bathing your children in it? Nowhere. It's an industry that is so good at what it does that we've taken full faith in the security of it, the reliability of it. Who all can remember the last time that their power was out? Everybody? You can remember that. It happens not regularly, but it happens. How many of you can remember an extended loss of your water service? Anybody? Can anybody remember the last time, outside of having their bill cut off or their meter cut off, that they had a loss of water service? That's amazing, isn't it? What's the largest driver of economic development in a town? Water and sewer. First water, but also sewer. And if you don't believe that, look at the areas of, I don't know, are y'all fully sewered? Jay, are y'all fully sewered in Franklin? Inside the city limits?
There's still people in the few places.
Okay. But if you look at all of your commercial growth, I almost guarantee that every bit of it is sitting on top of the sewer system. Go to an area that didn't, or if you'll remember back before it was sewered, and you'll find that all of the commercial growth grew right there. So you can say that the main economic driver in the whole community is the water and wastewater utility. And it's also the one, what's your least utility bill that you pay at your home? Water and sewer. It always has been, and it always probably will be, because our mindset is that it's a free service. But unfortunately, you guys know, or maybe it's fortunately, you guys know that that doesn't come for free. That's millions and millions, tens of millions of dollars of investment. Why don't we think about it? One, because it always works. Two, because it's always spot on, meaning it's 100% in compliance and it's safe. And three, because we bury all of it. I was out at Jay's facility earlier today, out at his office. And how many of y'all have been out to the wastewater treatment plant? That's impressive. Let me say this, y'all have an outstanding facility out there. I mean, that is a beautiful complex. It's well taken care of. The shop is one to be envied. But very few of the town citizens even know that it's out there. So the one, probably the largest single piece of the wastewater system, why should we have to pay for it? Well, let me say this. In the past, people on this council, and I'm going back 30, 40, 50 years, 100 years, people had to have the foresight to invest in that. And those were hard decisions. Those were decisions that took on millions of dollars of debt for decades of time, or terms of loans. And guys, I'm not here to sell you all on a loan tonight. I'm here to say that you all have that same responsibility to the next 50 and 100 years. You have that same responsibility not to make decisions based on your term in office, but to be based on the future of your town. I've been elected. I'm as political as anyone sitting in here. Promise you. If it's not bad enough, I'm also a lobbyist, which just almost hurts my feelings sometimes. But I've sat on locally elected boards, and I've also been a town administrator. I know the pressure to make short-term decisions, guys, but as you all think through these things, I must applaud what you just did with this church. I know that's a tough decision not to downward adjust someone's bill. But that's the type of long-term precedence that you have to be diligent with, just like making investments in infrastructure. I'll give you guys an update on North Carolina Rural Water Association. For the ones that don't know, we were formed in 1976 to be the voice of the small and rural water and wastewater utility in the state. Now, since then, we've grown. We represent from towns that are a tenth your size up to Charlotte-Mecklenburg utilities. We range from one extreme to the other. In Raleigh and Washington, D.C., you'll find us working beside groups like the County Commissioners Association, the League of Municipalities. Oftentimes at the state level, we take the lead in state legislative water issues. The league works with us, or they take the lead on it and we work with them. We work back and forth. It's kind of a sharing of resource, because you guys are, I'm sure you're members of the League of Municipalities. You're also members of Rural Water, so it's a shared resource. We all work together on it. Not only do we provide a voice for the political advocacy, but we also provide technical assistance and training. Just today we spoke with the manager about coming back and doing a rate study for you guys. That's just a service we provide for our members. There's no cost to it. We probably do 100 plus of them a year for various utilities. We do everything from leak detection to rate studies to water audits. Some information in the packet that I put in front of you this evening. But that is what North Carolina Rural Water Association is. We represent more than actually it's about 94% of the utilities in the state of North Carolina. It's So it is as widespread as anyone. I want to switch gears just a little bit because it leads back to why I'm really here tonight. Jay Gibson has served on our board of directors for more than a decade, well more than a decade. I don't have the exact number of years. I was going to say it's been a long time. I came to thank you all for allowing him to serve. You may think you all have made an investment in your local infrastructure, in your local water and wastewater. But you've also, through making that investment, not only in a membership, but supporting Jay to be at board meetings and to serve on committees and other things, you've made an investment to the entire industry. And you can say, well, what difference does that make? Jay goes off, he has a nice lunch, he goes to a meeting. Right? Why do we pay Jay to do that? Let me roll it over, and it's just one example, a piece of recent regulatory change that we were able to accomplish working together through this cooperative style of agreement where everyone works together. We were able to get your CCRs moved under the EPA ruling to where they no longer had to be published, printed, and distributed by mail. Now you post them to the website. The average savings was somewhere near $5,000 a system per year. That was an annual report that you were required by law to distribute. So in one little bitty 2-sentence change, you were able to save not one system $5,000 a year, every water system, every town, every county, you saved that amount of money. Your small investment of a resource saved in one rule thousands of dollars, probably millions just in the state of North Carolina. In a report that if you ever went to the post office the day after it was mailed, you'd find at least 90% of them in the trash can at the post office. Guys, doing things like that, that cooperative style of working together is important, and I thank you for supporting Jay. You have supported him in time and effort. Normally, we try to pick up the largest part of travel cost when it's involved, not necessarily to drive to a meeting, but if it's out of state or if it's a weekend or if it's an overnight, we try to pick up the cost of the hotels and things like that. We appreciate your support of his time. I'm going to leave you with this. As you look down the road at your water and wastewater utility, think deep into how to employ technology for the best use of your local citizens. 50 years ago, people made these decisions. And at the time, some of the things you guys were doing were cutting edge. Think about that in the next generation. Don't be afraid to charge the rates that it takes to put that in there. Don't be afraid to maintain a water and sewer fund balance instead of growing by debt, grow by investing your own money. You guys, thanks again for having me and also for supporting Jay. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions today?
Oh yeah, I'd love to field questions.
Okay, Daniel, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor.
Appreciate y'all watching over Jay for us. And Jay, thank you for your service. Okay, next item is a presentation by the Scottish Tartans Museum by Chuck Colburn. Chuck, welcome.
Thank you. Mine will not be extemporaneous since I'm trying to stay within a reasonable length of time here. So we'll just get right to it. Mayor Scott, ladies and gentlemen of the Town Board of Aldermen, thank you for inviting me here to briefly speak to you about the Scottish Tartans Museum. Some of what I'm going to say you may already know, but you may have forgotten that you knew it. So I'm going to back up and just do a little bit about how we got here. Our story starts in 1987 when Dr. Gordon Teal of Chellick and Bob Martin discussed bringing a Scottish museum to this area. Dr. Teal had so many inquiries from the United States as to why there was no Scottish museum here in the States that he decided to do something about it. It was decided that the Scottish Tartan Society of Scotland, of which he was president, would open a museum in this area. The town of Highlands was chosen, and in 1988 the museum opened. In 1994, due to the work of the then Mayor Ed Henson, the building in which we meet tonight was built and the museum moved here to this building to become a real tourist attraction. Today we are one of 3 fine museums in the town of Franklin. It was 1999 when we moved to our present location. So here we are. In spite of the poor economy, we are still keeping the doors open. Over the years, we have drawn tens of thousands of people to the museum and to downtown Franklin. We were not really hit by the economical downturn until 2008. Slow to be hit, but slow to recover. Just as an example, in 2008, our attendance, and this is what we count coming in, our gift shop is on the first level and the museum's below. And so we count who comes in to the gift shop. There were 10,470 people to the gift shop and 2,941 to the museum. In 2013, attendance was 7,566 to the gift shop and 2,328 to the museum. In addition to walk-in sales, we have always relied heavily on the internet. The internet sales began to drop drastically in 2010. This, we believe, was due to 2 factors. One was the general state of the economy, which was bad. And secondly, competing sites sprang up on the internet with product quality that in many cases was very poor, but the price was cheap. We don't sell cheap. We sell good, we sell authentic, and we charge for it. Not only has the museum brought people to keep the doors open, though there have been times, and I'm very serious, of recent years, there have been times when we were close to closing the operation by reducing our paid employees to 1 and 2 part-timers, reducing our hours of operation in the winter to 5 hours a day, no longer paying employee benefits, and adding 1 more Highland game that we can vend at. We've been able to stay open. So we are doing our part to stay a viable business. We are now the only Scottish museum dedicated to the history of Scottish Highland dress, and specifically the development of tartan and the kilt. Other exhibits in our museum go into the Scottish migration into North Carolina and their interaction with the Cherokee people. Visitors to the museum can discover their clan or family tartan and gain appreciation for the richness of Scottish tradition and dress. To our knowledge, we are the only remaining museum of this kind. We know of no other place, including Scotland, that has a museum such as you have in Franklin. In 2010, Sir Malcolm MacGregor of MacGregor, who is the clan chief, visited our museum. Afterwards, he commented to us, there needs to be a museum like this in Scotland. And by the way, he lives there. I was prone to say, but didn't, find us a place and we'll be glad to go. My wife and I would have gladly packed up and gone and run the museum there. And so would our full-time employee. You may be thinking, well, what's so great about tartan? Well, Franklin has its own tartan, along with over, now get this figure, along with over 9,000 other people, clans, families, universities, colleges, states, counties, and businesses. Tartan is popular. Even the Pope has a tartan. How many of you knew that? He has the St. Ninian's tartan, which was designed for him by our former curator and manager, Matthew Newsom. And I have some pictures of that, which I'm very proud of. We have in Macon County 1,500 families with Scottish heritage. Due to the fact that North Carolina had 2 separate immigrations of Scots, it's pretty much a safe bet that there's more Scots living here, Scots by heritage, in our state than in Scotland. There's only 5 million people in Scotland. There's 33, 33, I forget what the population was in our state here, but it's up there. And the United States has more Highland Games and festivals than there are that are held in Scotland. So there's a lot of interest here in the States in Scottish history. And we, the Scottish Museum, have become known as the authority on Highland dress and tartan information. Had a man in from Aldermen, Florida, just the other day. He said, I knew I was coming up here. He has a son-in-law that lives over in Blairsville. And he said, folks were telling me, be sure to stop in the museum because they can give you some interesting information on your tartan and show it to you. And he spent quite a bit of time with us that day, and it's not unusual. We get people who come in and they sign our guest book, and when I look at it, I say, what made you come here? Oh, we were just driving down the highway and we saw your sign out there, Scottish Tartans Museum, and they stop in. We've had people who have purposely made a trip here, not because they had relatives here, but just a trip here of many, many, many miles so that they could come and discuss with us what their family tartan was and see it and maybe order a piece of it. Think back to what I said earlier about the people we bring into downtown Franklin. You are far better helping to keep us here than the alternative. We love Franklin as a location for the museum, but quite frankly, we very often wonder how much longer we can keep operation here if it's not some kind of financial improvement. We can get money by grants for a security system, which we did, and it's installed, something we've never had. We can get a grant so that we can buy the software that we need to begin a good inventory of all of our artifacts, and we have some that we can't display even because we don't have room. And we want to set up a revolving display to help that situation. The hardest thing we have is getting money for day-to-day operation. You can't get grants for that. People don't want to give that to you. So I'm just throwing that out to you and ask you think about it and see if there's any way you can help us in the future. We'd like to stay. We don't have any desire to move to another city or town. And by the way, the tartan I'm wearing tonight is the North Carolina tartan, officially adopted by the state legislatures of both. I said North Carolina. It's the Carolina tartan because it's been adopted by both the legislatures of South and North Carolina as the official state tartan in each case. Thank you very much for your time tonight.
Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, anybody have any questions?
Do you have members and how many?
Membership to the museum was just started about 2 years ago, and I really, at this point, I would have had to ask our treasurer does that, but we get a few in, and we've been trying to, we even established a clan membership with an incentive that if the clan becomes a member, everybody in that clan can purchase with us with, I think it was a 10% discount on anything, as long as they were a member of that clan that was participating. So, and then we'd feed back a percentage of that to the clan annually. And believe it or not, no takers yet. Any other questions?
Are you still printing T-shirts for the
Yes, indeed.
museum?
Yes.
Could you not partner with the Taste of Scotland to do that?
We do.
For them as
Yes,
well?
we print theirs. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Chuck, thank you so much,
Okay,
sir.
thank you.
Appreciate that very much. Okay. Okay, next on the agenda is a proclamation for National Kids to Parks Day. Since nobody's here, do I need to read that, John? Council, can I just sign it?
I don't know of any requirement that you read it.
Okay, it's a little lengthy, and there's nobody here from the national parks anyhow, so I'll just sign it, pass it down to Janet. That's okay.
Motion.
We typically have.
We need a motion.
Okay, to adopt it, okay. I hear a motion to adopt the National Kids to Parks Day proclamation.
I'll make a motion.
All in favor? Okay, takes care of that. Oh, let's see here, what's the next one? Letter of support for new outpatient services building for Angel Medical Center, Don Capital. Hi, Don. You need to say, you want to make any comments, or you just want us to read this and sign it?
Come on, Don.
I think you and I have been to 3 places together this week.
We have. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to say a few words. Angel Medical Center is a vibrant and important part of our community, and we are in the process of building an outpatient services building. The first floor of that building will occupy the occupational therapy, physical therapy, and speech therapy. The second floor, the entire second floor, will be cancer treatment center, chemotherapy. And the third floor will be Western Carolina Digestive Consultants. We are just raising $1 million. That's the campaign to help pay for this building. This is a $2.5 million project that is state of the art. It is something that the town of Franklin and the community, Macon County, can be very proud of. There will be people coming from all over Western North Carolina and North Georgia to this facility to receive their cancer treatment. And sometimes the grants ask for letters of support, and so I'm asking for the board and for the mayor for a letter of support that I can submit with grant opportunities in order to help raise the funds for this outpatient services building.
Don, thank you very much. Any comments or questions to Don? I believe I better read this since we're going to sign it. That's it. I know, don't you want me to read it first? Oh, well, if you don't want to hear it, I can sign it.
I want to hear it.
Oh, you've read it? Everybody's read it? Okay. Okay. That being the case, I'll entertain a motion that I sign the proclamation.
I make a motion, we approve the sign for the proclamation.
Second. Okay, all in favor? Okay. You get these, or just one of them, Don?
Just one.
Okay, I got it right here for you.
Thank you.
And
It has to be passed down.
Janet, no, there's no place for Janet to sign it.
Just a letter. She puts it on record.
Okay, good deal. All right, moving right along, let's see. Several weeks ago, Reach asked for a letter of support for the same situation, applying for a grant, and the reason that didn't come before the board at that time, I asked for if there was any objection to sign it because they had a February the 14th deadline, because that was when the grant funding cycle ended and they had to have it within just a couple of days. And so there was no objection to it, so what I need is a vote to ratify that. I think you all read it.
Yeah, move to ratify the vote.
Okay?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, that takes care of that. All right. Okay. All right, there is a request to forward the rezoning petition for 6 parcels on East Palmer Street and Porter Street to the town planning board. Oh, there you are.
Mayor,
You just
ready?
appeared, yeah. Welcome, Dustin.
Good evening, board, mayor. I believe in your packet there should be, you can see the petition. It's actually done by the town of Franklin, and also in there is the list of the 6 parcels with their address and their parcel number. And I believe there's a black and white one, but there should be a colored map of the parcels as well. the parcels highlighted in blue are the 6 parcels, which a little backstory is 2 of the parcels, this originally started with Mr. Gillespie, originally submitted a petition to rezone his 2 parcels along Porter Street, and then with that entailed some conversation of rezoning of the Old Town Hall property as well, from C1 to C2, the same as Mr. Gillespie. So then we also I talked to Mr. Kenneth Davis on the phone. He had no objections to throwing his in and make it kind of in line with everything else that we were doing through there. And if you'll notice in the map, everything to the west is already C2, so it's not it's on the other side of Porter Street, and of course everything in the light pink is C1, which is where everything is currently zoned. And just to the south of Mr. Gillespie is the neighborhood mixed use. So if there's, you just need a vote to send that on to the planning board for them to have a further discussion on it.
Is there any discussion from the board before we get a motion to send this to the planning board?
Justin, did anybody contact, it says Wachovia, but I'm sure that's Wells Fargo.
I did not contact them, being the property is a bank right now, and banks permitted in C1, so I thought it was kind of a null point to see about having it rezoned to C2, because it looked like it would be a bank for the foreseeable future. So that's why I didn't include that.
Just as a matter of disclosure too, when Justin and I were having this conversation with the town hall property, you all remember the discussions we had back January-ish, somewhere, maybe back before Christmas, when we changed the stuff on the west side of the street, when we actually moved it to C2. We found some places such as a car lot, some other places that had been car lots for years, but then all of a sudden we changed the zoning, and then they couldn't be one anymore when they ceased to exist. Derek and I wrangled around this idea before he left, and Justin and I talked about it again. The Old Town Hall property, a couple of the uses that it cannot be the way it's zoned now is mini storage, auto repair, certain businesses such as that. We have storage buildings out back, and we have a pit and buildings that you can do auto repair in. So it's basically, we're trying to get we kicked our own building out of what its proper use could be for other things if it weren't a town hall. So that's basically the background of why we decided to look at some of those other properties.
Let me ask for a little direction from the board about that bank property. It's not crucial or necessary to add that one into this, but it would be a little more uniform, and we can do it at this stage. It can, anytime up to the stage of you scheduling your public hearing on it, which is we're a couple months from, we can add that property in. Am I reading you right that you would like us to try to get in touch with Wells Fargo and see if they want to be included?
I knew it wasn't included in this, I just wondered why.
Do you think it ought to be? I guess is what I'm saying.
What would be a use, what would be, well, I don't necessarily want to turn it into a car wash down there.
We talked about that. I don't know what else it could. I don't know what else it could be. I mean, you're certainly not going to hurt anything.
Yeah, but at some time it may cease to be a bank, and then you have all these other properties around it, C2, which could be a very valuable corner for something.
But we have to have the bank sign the petition to rezone, or can we just do it on our own motion?
You'll be happy to know we are learning things as we go along. So one of those is that when we had somebody come in and were interested in putting in an application, we have avoided that whole actual notice fiasco that we got into with Pauline Avenue. So we're the town's the applicant, and that's why. So no, they don't have to sign on for us to do it.
Okay.
I mean, a motion, we pass it on to the planning board.
All right, a second.
A second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Okay, Mr. Manager, you're up with the discussion on the gazebo.
Actually, I just have a couple of questions, Mayor. We are starting to get some draft drawings coming in on different things. And I basically need, if there's any direction you you have at this point on what you want to go with this process for now, or do we just accumulate?
I would entertain any suggestions, ideas, or whatever from the board, really, how we want to go as a board. Anything? Okay, well, I'll just get with you sometime during the week or next week, and we'll just, we'll see we'll just lay out where we're gonna go, if that's okay. And anybody that's interested,
Do we have any board members that are interested in working on this? I asked that.
Ms. Abel, yeah, and I'm interested, but I'm willing to leave it up to, you guys.
I think there might be a lot of people out there ready to give us some things. But
Oh, there are.
We've already said that at this point, it'll have to be next year. There's no way we can start a project and get it done in time for us to open. Yeah.
We have money that's held over, we can carry that over.
Exactly, yes.
But I think now's the time to start, because
Right.
if we need, because we're coming up on budgets, and if we end up having to budget something else, we've got to do it now.
Right.
So I think that, Bob, if you're interested in it, you have a board member that's interested in it, I think we move ahead with that, and meet, or maybe as a group, look at the different ones, the different plans and ideas people come up with. Anybody have a problem with that?
I sure don't. Sounds good then. I don't guess it requires a motion. We just take it as advised and just move on. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, Mr. Manager, it's the real hard one. You're going to tell us about the budget.
Mr. Mayor, in your packet, you have a copy of a schedule that I presented to the department heads for your information as far as our budget calendar for the 2014-2015 year. Honestly, tonight, I probably don't need any action from you other than to be aware of the dates. Once we get into the process, I should have a budget to present to you. The goal is to have it the May 5th, 2014 meeting, and at that time, you need to set a public hearing, which my recommendation would be May 17th, but obviously that can be decided at that point.
We don't need any kind of motion. Okay. Jen, you're up next.
The audit contract with Martin Stearns would be $32,100 this year, which is an increase of $600 from last year.
600?
Mm-hmm. But our recommendation is to go ahead with the same thing.
You do a good job.
Move that we accept the new contract.
Any discussion before, I guess that was it, there wasn't.
Second.
Okay, thanks for taking the heat off. Okay, all in favor? All in favor, okay.
I'm sorry,
All right, that does away with the agenda. Now, we do have a legal closed session, and I will defer to council just a minute to ask, because of the Fourth Estate and all, if there will, you see anything coming out of the meeting that will
I
require?
don't believe there will be any further action.
Okay, so if y'all want to wait, that would be good, but we're going under this, under the attorney-client phase of the open meetings law exemptions. Pardon? Yeah, we'll have to vote to go into a closed session.
Mr. Mayor, whenever you're ready to entertain that motion, it just needs to cite that particular statute as the reason for the closed session.
All right, you want to sign it, you want me to sign it?
It's GS 143-3.1183 to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body.
He's done that once or twice.
I've read it a time.
Okay, before we go, anybody got anything they want to say? I just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. The weather changed cold on us. I thought we voted.
Make a motion to go into closed session.
All right, yeah, I knew you'd find something wrong. Okay, all right, is there a second? Okay, there is a second. All in favor? Good deal.
Somebody's got to keep it straight.
I'm glad. One of these days I'm going to learn Robert's rules of order. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
We're all second.
Let's go.